sat down on my skis. And I made it. I never went back.
I think I read in 1924 that was the highest ski jump in the world.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not sure if, I think, let's see, who shared the day with you? It was Nikki. Yeah, and I gave her some information on that. Chester was, there are a number of Olympic skiers that
They
came
have
there.
pictures actually there in the chalet. Yeah.
Now Iron Mountain is the highest.
Now Iron Mountain is it the highest in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. We were down Park Point one day, and I was talking about the biggest ore docks in the world and so forth. And everyone's got the biggest in the world. Duluth is theirs too. Let me. We'll shift out here to the woods. I grew up in Duluth, but I've been living here now since 1994, and that's when we started building. And I'll show you that. But there's 43 acres here, and about 3/4 mile shoreline goes up over there and around the point and down the other side. And we'll see a little bit of it. It's got a real northern Minnesota flavor, and I always wanted to live out in the woods. And I had some trauma in my life. The marital thing didn't work, and after a number of years, and I knew I wanted to be somewhere peaceful and quiet. So I never thought that I would ever find something like this. So I'm an extremely fortunate person, and I like to share it with people because it's really special, a real special place for you.
How did you find it? When we're driving
I smiled one day in the newspaper. There was a little ad for a place on Thompson Lake, and this is Thompson Lake.
Yeah.
And it just, from the wording of it, it sounded just because I came out here early in the morning before the owner got here. And I came, my mother was over on Island Lake living. I drove in here, walked up, said, this has got to be mine.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time, as I said, financial things and everything just were flying. So I didn't know how we were going to have for my appointment, and said I want to buy it. He already had an offer. I gave him my offer. I think it was about the same as the other fellow, but the other fellow was a landscape architect. And the people loved this place, and I think they envisioned someone coming in and manipulating it like we like to do with homes, And I just wanted it because it was nostalgic. I mean, they had gas lamps in the old cabin, and my grandparents never had electricity, so I walked into the place and I smelled the oil lamps and the gas lamps and all that. So anyway, I bought the place, and I found enough to do it. I bought it in two pieces, so later I bought the rest of the acreage because he didn't want to sell all of it. Eventually he did. So that's how I found out about the little newspaper ad. Just about this side of the big garage, the property came up and over the hill. So it was a little 2 acres or so. $21,000. That was 1988. Things were different. But like I said, it was, it was great. And a little later, I bought the rest of it.
Yeah.
So the property was owned originally and developed by an early to mid 1900 physician in Duluth. His name was Ambrose Barney, Dr. Barney, and he was a real outdoorsman. Most of us like the higher ground, for the lake itself is not a good recreational lake. It's shallow, maybe 12 feet at the deepest, and it's kind of weedy. Aren't good fish. There's northerns in there, I guess some crappies and some perch and sunfish. So, but for me, I like my canoe. It's nice and quiet. There are a couple little putt-putts out there. There are about half a dozen pontoon boats, and maybe once a week people come up and go around. And most of the time, it's like this. You don't hear anything. You don't have speed boats or these ski-doos or sea-doos or whatever it's called. And snow and stuff in the yard. It works out really nice. That's how I get in here in the wintertime. And when Pat and I both worked, if a big storm were coming, we would leave our car out at the end of the Thompson Lake Road at the top of our driveway. And we would snowshoe out or ski out and drag a sled behind with whatever we had to have in case we couldn't get in or out. And we did that 2 or 3 times. Just to make sure, but there are some things you accept, maybe not willingly, but when you live out here, it's not you can't run the grocery store. In the May of '94, we moved into this little green shack. I had to jack it up, it was falling apart and sinking and so forth, and I had to actually cable it together because it's so weak. But we lived in there for from May until October, when enough of the house was done that we could move up there just about when it got a little bit cool. You know, that we keep on working and building on, and so that's kind of special too. But really, it's the property that what nature put here, and it's pretty much in its natural form. My son and one of my sons and his wife bought us that a couple years ago.
Oh, that's
That's nice.
So
Oh.
there's a family of loons here every year. They've got one young this year. They had two last year. You might hear them sing a little bit to you today. You know, when there's enough free water comes out there, the loons come in and you hear them, and it's just, I mean, it's the rites of spring, really.
Does the little loon ride on the back of the mother?
Yes, yeah. I said, you know what? I'm not going to push it. So I had close to 800 to 1,000 pounds. So when the bobcat wanted to go, I had to keep the weight back towards the body of it. So and set everything up, kind of come in, didn't have much room to work out. It tested my ability that I trust my wife. Because I've had some not impressive experiences on the bobcat. A few years ago, I'm not sure, Dan and Tom.
Yes.
Did I have this?
Yeah.
I must have just done it then. So that's about 4 years old, I think. I had just a little stoop on the front here, and I wanted to. So a friend of mine who's he's dead now, but he was a construction expert. He's a very true little kind of guy. He was a hippie. He killed himself. Way back when. I drew him, but just a fine guy, very creative. I think we can find some back in this old cedar swamp. So we went in there and we found a bunch of cedars, grow in great shapes, and so we found these two that came kind of close to make, and I stored it for about 2 years. And then when it was time to put it on the end of the building, I lost all those instructions. So it's kind of like disassembling the motor of a vehicle or something. You have no idea what it is, and all of a sudden someone says, "Okay, put this back together." Well, it's there. It works pretty good. We have a little leakage now. In those curbs panels are 2 sheets of plastic. I want to get glass. Occasionally we'll come down in the evening and have a bite to eat there if it's buggy or something like that. And once in a while, maybe every 3 or 4 years, I take a picture of it and send it to Joan. It's still there.
You get black flies.
There was enough of a wind. Anyway, I was raking back, and the smoke was, heat was pretty intense. And then she brought the buckets down here, and I said, "Now go get the hose from down below. We have a long hose on my garden thing." And she put together the pieces and got that up there. In the meantime, I'm jumping in the water, and I'm dressed just like this. In fact, these boots are the ones I had on for the hike. I was jumping in down here with my buckets and running up here and pouring water on it. And so the fire department got here. There were some big logs. You can see one of them is still down there, but one was just not too far from where Tom's feet, where that was really hot, very, very hot, and I couldn't get it out. I could get the flames extinguished.
I don't think we're going to have a hike, really.
No, we thought maybe we were having a hike out here, but this is probably it.
Yeah, I think so.
On the far side, there's maybe a dozen, but it's a seasonal cabin. If it isn't so, they're not used a lot, and so it's really quiet. And you can see there are 2 places down there. The white roof is Ron, who has all of the power tools and that I talked about. And then to the right, you can't see it, but there's another place down there. And they each have like 80 acres, and we've got about 40 acres or so. So the north side of the lake is pretty much, and we start about where those rocks are. Our property.
Oh my goodness.
And it goes in and around the bay, and then it goes down here about another maybe third of a mile.
Oh, boy.
Down this way.
Catch some good
So
fish.
it's, this tree is